Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo, the Pünktlichkeit edition. I'm your host and keeper, Larry Channel. And I mean, we were like 3 seconds early when the intro music ended. Pünktlichkeit is it's the German word for punctuality.
Right.
Yeah. With me tonight is Minion SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And Serenity is trying to join us, but she's running into some stupidity on StreamYard's part. So if StreamYards isn't willing to let her in, there's really not much we can do about it. But hopefully she will be joining us soon.
She's probably busy posting her review on The Woman King. Have you heard about this?
I haven't heard anything about this.
King. Oh my.
Did Charles III decide to become Charlene III? What are you talking about?
When I first heard it, that was what I thought it was. And then I heard somebody say, "We are Dahomey," and I realized this is about that woman militia thing in Benin from about 200 years ago. And they were a bunch of well, they're painted as like rebel, organized rebel fighters, using SEAL team type tactics, but they were actually a bunch of just, barbaric women who were just terrorized into action. It's interesting. It's being presented as Wakanda, 200 years ago. With these guys organizing against the Europeans. The Europeans want to dominate all of Africa. They will take all of Africa. These women did not know what all of Africa meant. They did not know what the world looked like beyond the next valley 200 years ago in Africa. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I was watching a review of it and noticing that on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a nearly amazing score of 94% from the critics and 99% fresh from the audience.
Wow.
And they're not showing any
reviews.
Amazing. Not showing any reviews.
Well,
but trust them.
Just that good. It's that good. You don't need to show reviews.
Don't really need to.
Maybe Ray Epps is one of the reviewers.
Jeez.
I mean, I'm not like I actually try actively not to get sucked into conspiracy theories. They're really addictive psychologically. They fill a nice little itchy niche that people have in their brains. They're very common. There's a reason why a lot of people like secrets. They like gossip. They like conspiracy theories. They're very satisfying psychologically, which doesn't mean that they're not right or wrong. I'm just saying that the psychological basis is there for wanting to enjoy them. And little Miss Aiden Paladin has done some pretty good videos on this topic.
Actually, you had me you had me at doctoral candidate Aiden Powell has done some pretty good videos. That's one of the most underrated YouTubers in YouTube. She's awesome.
She is pretty awesome. And she does amazing work. I'm one of the few people. I trimmed a lot of my Patreon, or was it? I don't know. I forget where this is, but there's some people I give money to, and she's one of the few that I actually still give money to and feel good about it. And I think I give her like $10 a month or something. It's not a lot, but that adds up.
Yes, it does.
It does.
You can like 20 or 30 people and find yourself with a $300 a month Patreon bill. And think about that. You're paying 1/3 of that to Patreon. 30%. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's
a bit of an issue. But anyway, Aiden Paladin is fantastic. I really like her channel, but I have to be like in the right mood. Let's see. Green Badger Outdoors, howdy. Raymond Lewis, howdy. Says hello, folks, folkettes, and folks with an X. Ah, I see what you did there. yeah, there's a ton of stuff to talk about. It's unfortunate that Serenity is having StreamYard problems because StreamYard sucks. Yeah, she's restarted her browser 3 times and they will not let her in. Alrighty then. Well, hopefully she'll be able to join us later, but you can only do what you can do. I'm glad it let me in. That could be a problem.
Yeah, well, we'd have a different host and a much less interesting show. Probably me doing a solo.
Yeah,
but
it's okay.
At any rate, what are 2 old farts like us going to talk about for?
We're going to talk about the internet. IMP.
That new internet thing.
Yeah, the internet was a mistake. Everything was a mistake.
I have to tell you, I have a good friend, a friend from high school, who told me the other day, and this is an eminent man. This is a man who, has been at the highest levels of our government. He's a captain in the Navy. He's an attorney with a master's degree in law. I mean, he's in who's who of everything. He sat and told me, as we were sitting talking the other night. He's also my best friend from high school. That he really thinks that the ability to exchange information laterally is a net step back. He really does believe the internet is a mistake. Well, he doesn't like to see the priesthoods of information, the priests of information losing their power, and that's basically one of the effects of the internet is that they have lost an awful lot of their gating power.
Well, I have a thesis that sort of goes along with that, which I've thought about for a long damn time, which is if you look at things, over time, information sharing has gotten easier and easier. The barriers to entry have gotten lower and lower, obviously. That darn printing press, did that cause some trouble? And then people...
That was the initial mistake.
And then the telegraph, which enabled news services to basically come into existence.
And that electricity stuff. What?
But the fact that you could actually get news from halfway around the world within 24 hours was a huge step forward. The world became a lot smaller.
That was the telegraph that did that, actually.
Right. When we were growing up, or young men, the state-of-the-art sort of for the citizen who wanted to say something, what was it? It was, you could either write a letter to the editor of a newspaper, and then hopefully your letter would get published, right? So you had to get past a gatekeeper. Your letter had to be, just right to make it out of all the ones that got sent in, because not everybody got published. So if you just sounded like a loony and like you didn't know anything, you weren't going to make it onto the page of the newspaper. It's not a huge bar, but there was a bar. And the other one was talk radio. And the call screeners in talk radio were very good at their job. And if you look at like a 50,000 watt radio station and you call up Jim Eason, Ron Owens, Ray Taliaferro, any one of those guys on KGO, or is it KLAX is one of the ones, and then there's was it Kono up in Seattle? But any one of the big 50,000 Como, okay. Yep. Any one of the big 50,000 watt AM stations. On the right night, you could talk to more people than most of us do talking on the internet. You could get a lot of exposure, and you could get your 5 minutes to get your idea out there. And if you were speaking in a manner that was entertaining and the host was interested in what you were saying, it could go for longer than that. But that was what you had to do to be heard. And then the internet came along, but it was really just like a private gated community. No riffraff. Up until about 1990, when the floodgates opened and they pretty much let anybody in. And that's probably where your friend started having problems, I'm thinking.
Yeah, he does not ever want to hear anyone have an opinion about how the law should work unless they have a law degree. You should not have an opinion about astronomy unless you have a degree in astronomy. You're not informed. How can you know something when you don't have a degree in it? How is it possible? That's a fair question.
Well, you know, this is another one of those things. I was actually thinking about this earlier today. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. Like, for instance, health stuff, right?
Yeah.
We have Serenity.
God, mother effing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Making a grand entrance, I see.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had to do stupid stuff to make StreamYards finally work. And I was getting mad at it because it's like, I'm not using Microsoft Edge. I'm not doing it. I'm not.
No, I know.
You're gonna work on Opera, you can get off.
Oh,
yeah.
Those are bats, aren't they?
Yep.
Are those just with stars, or are those like
just orange
guns mounted on the bats and they're blazing? Or
I mean, I would mount guns on bats if they were mechanical
that'd
bats.
be pretty awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Is the orange in recognition of pumpkin spice season?
Of the Halloween, yes.
Okay.
It is officially Halloween. Damn it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. Actually, Halloween is as an adult, it's one of the best holidays.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It's my favorite holiday. Do you know why? It's my father's birthday.
Oh,
nice.
He'll be 95.
Ghost baby.
I was going to go with slutty nurses, but okay.
No, that's my second favorite reason.
Hello, nurse.
I just like giving little kids candy and then sending them home to their parents. This way they can deal with them.
Yeah, that part is pretty cool.
Here's a full-size Kit Kat. Go away.
Yeah, take 2. Take 3.
Are you sure X-Lax is a chocolate?
All you've got is Smarties. You know those sugar-free butterscotch candies, those like Brock's sugar-free candies with the sucralose?
Yeah.
Yes,
give those out for Halloween. That'll make you popular.
with sorbitol.
Let's
the old
not.
Diabetic candies with sorbitol. Hey, this tastes like road tar. Yes, it is. Sweet road tar.
It's pretty bad.
It's
so, do you have anything, Serenity, before we dive into the show?
Only to say that if you're going to take your kids trick-or-treating for the first time, go to an older, upper middle class neighborhood, because usually there's at least a couple older people there who will make candied apples and give them out. Because I always got at least 3 or 4 candied apples when I was younger. That way. Yeah, half-price candy the next day is always nice too, cannibalism. That's half the fun.
Yeah. All right. Hey, do you guys want to talk about this? Well, it's kind of obvious, but I feel like we sort of have to talk about it a little bit. I mean, it's just political theater. Let's be serious here. This whole thing where DeSantis and Abbott are taking buses and airplanes and sending migrants up to rich sanctuary cities.
What could be less fair? What could be less unfair than that?
It's only unfair.
We're spreading the wealth.
It's only unfair if the guy thought he was actually going to get a job at an actual vineyard. You know, I mean, it could have been bait and switch, because those are good agricultural jobs. Other than that, I see no issue.
Well, it's one of those things that it kind of like, it puts certain entities in the mainstream media in a bad spot, because if they say this is bad, then that means that politicians can now throw it back in their face. Oh, so this is bad in broad daylight when we made you all aware, but the ones in the middle of the night to other cities, no, that's not bad.
Well, those were just kids that were being shipped off to people who are going to get paid to take care of them.
Oh, yeah, because that's not kidnapping.
No. Moving a bunch of kids across state lines, you don't have any parents, so they can be at the tender mercies of whoever.
Yeah, and then run away.
That's not human trafficking, but sending people voluntarily who want to get out of the camps near the border to someplace else, that is kidnapping or human trafficking or something. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So there was a video here, which was, I think it was from Memology, which I think is pretty good. I won't necessarily play the whole thing, but take a look at this. I think it's pretty good.
I know. I saw this.
You've seen this one?
Oh yeah, it's great.
The difficult challenges are.
I didn't even know Martha's Vineyard had a homeless shelter.
It's not really. It's like a church with a church's back room.
Ah, okay.
You insane? They're not going to allow homeless people in Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, they didn't mess around. Just send the National Guard in to send them all away.
Well, if the migrants are harmless, why would you need the
There they
National
go, getting on a
The
bus.
Obamas
Have
are
a nice day.
displeased. Called the National Guard.
Yeah,
Well, didn't they get sent to like some decommissioned military facility where they set up some kind of camp for them? That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
they had to have them in there for showers first, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, why should we take care of our veterans and mentally ill and homeless people when we could just take care of the rest of the world's people who need help?
You know, actually, if you follow that logic just a little bit, and you say, okay, you want open borders, you want people who are not citizens to be able to vote in our elections, why don't you just say, I want the people of Iran to elect our senators? Why don't you just extend the right to vote in American elections to everyone in the world? Seriously, whether they live here or not, why should they have to live here?
Yeah.
If there's no restrictions, if there's no restriction whatsoever, if you're going to extend in Los Angeles and New York, they're doing this already. They're extending the right to vote in local elections to non-citizens. Why should they have to be here? Why shouldn't they, if they're going to have the voting rights extended to them, you know, and they're not citizens, they're not even here legally in any way, there's no documentation, how is that different from a person who lives in Iran?
In
an important way.
I have to say, I'm slightly tempted to click on this spray foam insulation nightmare. What could happen if ellipses?
That was 8 years ago.
It doesn't matter when it happened. It's still funny.
8 million views.
Because watching home repairs go wrong is always fun. Because it's watching somebody else make the mistakes you've already made, which is pretty awesome.
Well, yes, sometimes, yes.
To kind of expand a tiny bit on Skep's point, these people that they keep trying to extend who are not here legally, who they keep trying to extend all these voting rights, if you follow the Hispanic voting patterns, they're voting more conservative than some Americans are.
Yeah, I don't think they planned on that.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, they still want to stay, but they're running from the places that you're trying to turn here into. So most of them aren't that stupid. So they know
most of them are bringing in conservative Catholic values, I think. Is where I'm going with this, right?
Which is the funny thing when you see stuff like Christianity will no longer be the main religion of America. Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Now let's invite South America into our country.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No Catholics down there.
Yeah, not at all. No, there's not massive parades with gigantic statues of the Virgin Mary or anything like that. No.
Yeah.
But it's like the border town in Texas where they voted in the Hispanic woman who was Republican.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would say Mira Flores.
Over by Del Rio, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't supposed
to happen. Is it Mira
happen.
Flores? Is that the
yeah.
Is that her name?
Yeah, that's her name.
Her. Sorry, Shemp Flores. Shemp. I'm not sure about the first name. Keep going.
But it's like, because that was never supposed to happen, because that's where they all are. So why are they voting in conservatives? It's like, because they're conservative, you morons.
Well,
Myra Flores was her name.
Myra. See, this is why I should never try to remember anybody's first name.
Just say Shemp.
She was cousin to Myra Breckenridge. That's not
yeah, that's right. And Dusty Springfield was Buffalo Springfield's mom. But as an aside, the Democrats are sort of, well, we gave you all this free stuff. Why aren't you voting for us like you're supposed to? And what they don't seem to understand is if you've made it here, much like a lot of the people who moved to Washington and Oregon, week 1, oh, I'm sorry, please don't destroy my car even though I'm from California. Week 2, us Oregonians don't want any more of you Californians coming in. I've seen it all the damn time. Everybody figures that the door slammed shut the second they got there. If you want to hurt people who live in those communities, bring in lots and lots and lots of people who are willing to do their job for less.
Well, it's also the fact that, like, they should have learned from watching the Cuban populace. Like, the Cuban populace ran from that kind of stuff. And while some of them may have gone middle of the road, most are highly conservative, like in Florida. And it's like, that should have been a litmus test to tell you what is going to happen.
They are part of the core of DeSantis' constituency.
Yeah. And that's the
I
thing.
remember when I was a kid, though, the United Farm Workers, led by Cesar Chavez,
yeah,
they were not in favor of unrestricted immigration because it diluted their membership. His job was to help the people who worked for him, Cesar Chavez. And they improved a lot of the working conditions because some of it was literally backbreaking work.
Yeah.
The short-handled hose and all that sort of stuff. I mean, so that's fine. I mean, people have a right to argue in favor of their own best interest. Yeah, I would never try to take that away from them. But if you look at their position, they did not want unrestricted immigration coming across the border. It's the last thing people like that wanted. And I don't know why the Democrats haven't figured this out. They think these people are going to come across the border and be grateful and vote Democrat for the rest of their life. And that's just not how it works.
Nope.
Go ahead, Serenity. Sorry.
Well, there's also the fact that, like, a lot of these countries that a lot of these very supposedly, air quotes, open-minded, like, Democrats worship, especially the ones in my age group and younger, like Japan and all this kind of stuff, are massively conservative countries with massively hard immigration systems. And yet they look at America and go, well, we need to be open. It's like the country you literally fap to is not even close to that. So why is it okay for them to be like that, but not us? When you say you want to go to that other country and you're never going to be allowed in because no one wants you. But it's just, it's weird to me. No, it's just, it's this whole thing of like, and the conservatives have the same problem. I'm not saying that either side is perfect, but it's just like there's this magnificent disconnect of we're going to call ourselves a sanctuary city, but we're so far from the border that we don't think anything's going to happen to us because no one's going to come this far north. Oh shit, they're bringing people this far north, even though we're a sanctuary city, and now we have to backtrack on everything we said and then bus them out. Oh God, only 50 of them? Well, think about the border there, guys. Like, you keep trying to act like it's not happening, and it is happening, but you're only getting a 30th, if that, of what the border is dealing with, and you're panic attacking?
You're getting like an hour's worth.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you're getting. You're getting an hour's worth. That's nothing.
And they're like, we need the National Guard. What do you think the border needs? Butt munch? Like...
Yeah, no, I know. Well, we have more topics.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. What about Lindsey Graham and his little plan?
Fuck you.
Here's what I think. I think we should have a law at the federal level that would say after 15 weeks, no abortion on demand, except in cases of rape, incest, to save the life of the mother. And that should be where America's at. And what would that mean if we adopted that position?
You've been arguing for it being a states' rights thing for such a long time, and now's the time you chose to do this? I'm not saying I disagree with kind of the broad outlines of what he's talking about, but the political strategy part of it is just
inconsistent.
What are you doing? What are you doing, dude? I mean, it's not like Lindsey Graham doesn't do this rhino. Well, doesn't do things. Not, I wouldn't say rhino. He doesn't do things which are not in the best interest of the party. He does it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, ranging from the stupid to the traitorous. There's a lot of times when Lindsey Graham is like, just go, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Especially with the election coming up. Is this really the time and the place? I don't know. All these 10th Amendment arguments, it's like you're giving me whiplash because you've changed your mind so rapidly.
Well, the thing is that this, like, I honestly think either someone paid him off or someone said, we'll do this for you if you say this for you, because it's like, they're not going to use this for any Republican, say, this is what all the Republicans want. And the thing is, if we were still under Trump's economy, this would work. But right now, like, just an example, in my home state of West Virginia, like a 24 pack of Dr. Pepper is now $12. It used to be $7. Like, and that's not including all the other foods that have gone up ridiculously a huge amount because of everything going on. It's like, no one's going to care about abortion right now until after the economy chills out a little bit. So, like, if this had happened under Trump's economy, yeah, everyone would be paying attention to it, and this could be a damaging thing to the Republicans, but because it's not, no, everyone's just be like, I don't care.
You're not wrong, Assassin. I think he would look really natural with a mid-julep in his hand.
Cracking a whip.
Well, it's okay. Gavin Newsom is going to save us all. He's going to save us all.
I think Skep was trying to say something, Harry.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's not important.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're not going to get a chance here. So Gavin Newsom is taking on the whole abortion thing with his sanctuary state thing in red states, putting up billboards, talking about essentially abortion tourism. Texas doesn't own your body, you do. Go ahead, Skep.
Well, no, I was going to make a comment about the Lindsey Graham thing.
Go ahead, it's fine.
What are we talking about here? What is this? The idea that these Republican politicians are seeking to protect life is total farce. Idiot said in a statement they are seeking to restrict and control their constituents and take away their freedom.
Because when I think freedom, I think California.
Oh, yeah.
No kidding. These guys, it's like self-satire. They don't even realize that how hypocritical. It doesn't just sound hypocritical. This is actual hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all in California need to fix this shit. And it starts at the top. You really do have an irresponsible, I think almost psychopathic governor. And he's just the he really is the tip of the iceberg. All through that state, you have people with a mindset thinking that government is supposed to be this kind of parent that gives you stuff and takes care of you, and you can go whining to. I really don't know what you're going to do about California, Harry.
Well,
I expect you to have it fixed.
There's got to be a tipping point at some point. There's got to be. I mean, come on. I'm sorry, and I'm sure you're upset about this, Harry, so I'm not saying this about you, but it's like, you're wasting my tax money to put up billboards for abortion.
It's now it says paid for by Newsom for California Governor 2022. So he's actually not using tax money, he's using donations to his campaign. And I think that's rather telling.
It is, but also at the same time, if I actually believe Newsom was actually halfway decent, I wouldn't care about the billboard. Never mind. I mean, that's the thing. If you think Newsom's a decent governor after he called the DOJ on kidnapping charges for Texas and Florida, fuck it. You don't have, no, we're not even going there.
Well, are you guys looking forward to the Gavin Newsom, Ron DeSantis debate?
God, I live for it.
I think it is Skep's turn. How do you feel about this little piece of political theater?
Oh, they're both good at stating their policy positions. If it was really going to be a true debate, I might be interested. Neither one of these guys impresses me as an extremely good debater. If I had to bet on anybody, I'd probably bet on Newsom. He's very quick verbally. He's very good with organizing his thoughts on the fly. And I don't think DeSantis is as good on his feet as Newsom is. Newsom has been in too many compromising situations. He had to face a press. He had to get up and face a press and say, yeah, I fucked my best friend over, my campaign manager, by fucking his wife. Okay. I mean, he had to get up and say that to the voters of California, and he still got elected.
Yeah.
DeSantis never handicapped himself that way.
But to be fair, Yelp does give me 5 stars on my bedroom technique.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's pretty distressing. I don't know who the winner would be in something like this. It really depends on what debate means.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly so I mean, I was going to make a joke. It's not so much the intelligence squared debate; it's the square root of intelligence debate.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a pretty cool joke if you want to know the truth.
It will be a good gauge because this will kind of, I don't know if it'll affect.
Even if only 2 of us got it.
DeSantis's chances at going to be president, but this could, because if he can't stand against Newsom, people are going to go, I mean, you're a good governor, dude, but stay there. If you can't even fight off Newsom, you're not going to stand a chance fighting off anybody else. Not that Newsom's an idiot. Well, he's an ass, but he's not an idiot. But it's one of those things where it's kind of like, if you can't even handle Newsom, you're not going to be able to handle whatever the Dems decide to throw at you.
Hey, Functional.
Hi, Functional. Uh-oh. Maybe.
Almost.
Oh.
He'll be with us in a moment. He probably just joined the. He probably just joined the stream by accident. You know, that happens. So I actually have a really not very sophisticated opinion about this. I think in the case of a lot of this political stuff, you can just go around in circles trying to figure out what's the right thing to do. What's the right thing to do strategically? But I think that for a guy like DeSantis, it's kind of, he's pretty straightforward. And I think if somebody challenges him, he's just going to say, oh, well, just do it. Why wouldn't you? You know, you get challenged, you show up, you debate. There's just kind of a non-issue because he's a pretty straightforward guy. And I mean that respectfully. I'm not saying he's dumb at all. I think that this is one of those times where you just go, well, I mean, there's all sorts of political calculus, but at the end of the day, I just have to do this.
Can you hear me now?
Go.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Because I started. Sorry, I'm late, everyone. I lost track of time. I've been knee deep in plastic crack and super glue. So, but I kind of agree. I was listening for the last 5 minutes, trying to get my shit sorted so I can be here. So I was listening to Skep. I kind of agree with you. I do think that Newsom has the twinkle toes to sort of dance around the issues. I think factually, DeSantis would destroy him. But as we've seen in the last couple decades, at least in a debate in the political stage in the United States of America, being factually right counts for jack and shit most of the time. It's how you handle the question, how you can reframe the question being asked to you. And like you said, but the thing I disagree with you on, Newsom, if he tried that shit in 45 other states, he would have gotten like arrested or like somebody would have done something to him. I don't think he could have gotten away with some of the things he's danced around if it wasn't California. Sorry, Harry, but come on.
Well, okay, my opinion of Newsom is in a lot of ways he's a much better version of your prime minister. I see them as being cut from very much the same cloth, but Newsom's like a smarter version of
he's got the backing of California, which is, I mean, your GDP of the state dwarfs our entire country's GDP. So there's a lot more there that he has at his disposal and gives him a better sense of self-worth than pretty hair number 2, which it's sure you're the leader of one of the leading nations in the Western Hemisphere of things, but you're a joke to everybody outside, inside, and around you. Like,
here's the thing about Newsom. Newsom is not dumb.
No.
He is a cunning political animal, and he says the things he needs to say to run the state of California. What his actual beliefs are, I have no clue. Okay, I really don't. But he is a weather vane, and he is a politician. He's a political animal, but he's not stupid. He may be evil, but he's not stupid. Occasionally when he runs into reality, he will sort of change course on stuff. There are a lot of people in California who could be in his job, who would be true believers, who would be way, way, way worse than Gavin Newsom, which is not to say that I want him to be governor. But it's a mistake to underestimate a guy like him just because you hear stupid things come out of his mouth. Because the reason he says stupid things is because he's smart. Right. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I understood it.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about DeSantis
I quite agree.
I don't think DeSantis is necessarily smart, but Reagan wasn't really smart. He was principled. And I think DeSantis has a lot of the right principles much of the time. I'm not 100% sold on him being not kind of a crony capitalist and
but he's very
I'm not completely
practical.
sold on him. But a guy like him could ultimately be a much better president than a guy like Newsom. It's not a question of intelligence; it's a question of values, and he's a good guy on a lot of the things that really count. I mean, overall I like DeSantis, even though I don't entirely trust him, but I don't know the guy.
Same.
Exactly. But I mean, there's nothing that has thrown up a red flag yet, which in, again, today's political climate, that's kind of a good thing. No red flags? Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll listen to you a little bit. Maybe I don't want to, I'm struggling for the word, not have your back, but I'll be like, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now, even though you're a scumbag politician.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's like, I'll give you a chance, but understand that this chance is not the presidency.
Yeah, it's like up here. We were just talking about how Newsom and Trudeau are cut from the same cloth. The new leader of the Conservative Party, who me and BP talk about nonstop, Pierre Poilievre, is cut from the same cloth as someone like DeSantis. And again, he's been a career politician. He went to university for poli-sci. He went right into the system. But in his, I want to say 9, 10, maybe 11 years of public service so far, there haven't been any red flags. So for right now, that's kind of, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, even though you've been a lifelong politician.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently Newsom did a thing with Adam Carolla, and and he couldn't handle Adam Carolla, because Lava Junkie's bringing up that Newsom couldn't handle Adam Carolla, so I don't know what makes you think he can handle a debate. That was not throwing you under the bus, Lava Junkie. I'm just repeating what you're saying there, because I didn't even know he talked to Adam Carolla.
Yeah, Lava, if you've got a link to that interaction, I'd love to see it if you could post it in chat or something.
Lava Junkie can't, because he's not admin, but I'll see if I can find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was probably on his show. I mean, he has guests on all the time.
I was assuming that's what he was on, yeah.
That's why I was asking for a link, because just to be able to find it might be a little bit of a...
It looks like it was about 9 years ago. So
it's also funny to see some of the parallels in these political figures between the two countries. Because as you know, I'm interested in, obviously, my own political sphere, but learning over the last 5 or 6 years more and more about the American system. It's kind of like, you know what? We're not all that different. We have different documents, but like we're kind of the same country. It's so weird with the same people.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about a California problem, but here's a short video that has what I think is kind of an interesting. It has an interesting angle on why this problem is probably not going to get fixed. Okay, let's just take a look at this for a bit.
Homeless are just big job creators. Everybody is making money off of this very vulnerable population. Affordable housing developers that are nonprofits make on average about 10 to 13% of the total development costs. They have no incentive to really keep costs down. You have to ask yourself, would you rather make 10% on $10 million or 10% on $100 million? They're building in the most expensive neighborhoods where land value is incredibly high. And they're all...
Yeah. Basically, there's all these housing projects that come up, and anytime, whether it's low income or not, they'll say, well, we need a certain percentage of these units that are low income. And you know there's just like this spigot of money. It's like a comedy money cannon that just sprays money into the open mouths of these developers for all of these kinds of projects. So many people are making so much money off of the homeless that essentially they're an industry. There's a common belief in California that a lot of the homeless here come from someplace else. Now, I was able to find a whole bunch of things. No. That is a misconception. California's homeless don't come from somewhere else. Well, I kind of call bullshit. I was taking a look at one set of figures, and I'm pretty sure these are low, because you're talking to people who are getting free money from the state of California. They have an incentive to lie. Now, according to the New York Times, there was an LA homeless survey in 2019, found that 64% of the Los Angeles County, of the 58,936 Los Angeles County residents experiencing homelessness had lived in the city for more than 10 years. Well, we've had a homeless problem for a long time, okay? Just keep that in mind. Less than a fifth said they had lived out of the state before becoming homeless. That's still an interesting way to phrase this, because that doesn't feel like it's really got its finger on the exact truth. If you look at the San Francisco survey from similar time frame, 43% of the homeless said they had lived in the city for more than 10 years. Now, I still kind of feel like a lot of our homeless problem is because we have such good homeless benefits that people come from all over the rest of the country. Because if you look around, we've got a whole bunch of homeless people. I don't think that they're all just homegrown. I think we're getting them from all over the place. No. And I do think there's more than a few places that give Greyhound bus tickets to homeless people rather than locking them up and send them to California. So, you know, if they always talk about building a wall around California, and I'm kind of liking the idea if the wall allows us to turn homeless people in Greyhound buses around and send them back while we're all busing people to other states. But there's no incentive for the
out of the state.
Well, there's no incentive for the California politicians to fix it. They're making too much money off of it. They're getting elected on the backs of this. And taxpayers just keep raising their own taxes and issuing bonds so that we can essentially print more money to quote-unquote solve this problem. And all we're really doing is just making more of our own homeless and then importing them from the rest of the country. I mean, a counter hypothesis could be that they just freeze to death in Chicago. Okay, I mean, I understand that there are a lot of reasons why we might have the nation's homeless, but I do feel like we really are shouldering a big portion of this country's mental health drug abuse problem here in California. And we're doing a shitty job of it in addition, because everybody's making money. I don't know. I'm just really disgusted.
I don't think it's as imported as you... I'm not saying that there isn't. There's definitely migration. We've seen the evidence of it. But I think especially post-pandemic, post-lockdowns all over the place, post-crushing of small businesses, that the problem itself has grown all over the place. And given that your state is very heavily populated, I think that I can't say a specific number, but it's probably in the middle of between the two perspectives. It's probably closer to the middle because of all those things that have amplified, not just in California, but across the Western Hemisphere, is increased the homelessness. And yes, places like California, like Vancouver, like I want to say New York, but I know it's not New York. Is it Jersey? Where these industries have really sprung up and become very profitable for people who run them, as opposed to the people who volunteer their time or who make very little actually doing the grunt work in these industries. But it's just like healthcare. There's no money in curing you. There is money in keeping the problem going just enough so that they can get their funding and continue to ask for more funding. So to solve the problem would take away their funding. They can't have that.
Well, there's more than one person trying to cure you. I hear this argument a lot about healthcare. And what I have to wonder is if you're a young doctor and you had the ability to steal somebody else's customer and make money off them on a one-time basis by curing them, why wouldn't you? You know, it's competition that makes that not happen. But when you have the American Medical Association acting as a cartel and you have the government working hand in hand with the drug companies effectively reinforcing the cartel, what you're describing becomes the truth. It's the market that can actually save people from stuff like this. If you have real competition, there's no reason for you not to try to steal somebody else's customer and cure them. Because there's no downside to you for that.
Because just like in this video, would you rather make that 10% of 100 million or 10 million? There is so much more money invested moving from place to place. Trillions of dollars in cancer research and cancer treatment. Sorry, I should say cancer treatment research, as opposed to like a cure for cancer. A cure for cancer would be a drop in the bucket, profitably across many different sects of these industries.
Not really. Because no,
if you hold on, it depends on the cure. There are a lot of expensive cures for cancer that people are working on. But go on.
Yes, but if these people, well, let's say they have this one type of cancer that can be cured by a pill that would cost them, let's be gratuitous here and say $2,000 to take that pill, times 10,000 people. That's a whole lot less than the tens of billions that people perpetuate through, say, traditional current treatments for that one type of cancer.
The trouble is your model only works if there's effectively only one supplier. If you only have one supplier of all medical stuff, a single supplier, then what you're saying is that they would always provide a product that maximizes their profit. They would have no incentive.
I don't think
they
so.
Would have if you had one supplier.
Look at the COVID vaccines.
No, I'm saying just economically. If you had one supplier, you would make your product line maximize your profits. That's a simple statement of fact. That's all I'm trying to say. But there's more than one supplier. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you look at the COVID vaccines. You had 4 or 5 different companies, all with their magical redefinition of what a vaccine is, and they still all came out ahead, billions and billions of dollars richer. There was no actual like fight over the market share. There was a little bit of advertising, try to take this one, but it was more at the macro level between, say, my government and the pharma companies in the United States or the UK, and they were trying to sell, well, we will give you our exclusive brand, which happened. The other companies didn't care. The other companies did lose money because Pfizer sold to the UK and Moderna sold to Canada.
Yes, because government involvement fucked it. It wasn't actual free market stance. If free market stance is allowed to actually interact, that doesn't happen. The government's got involved and went ahead and paid.
Well, the government did a sweetheart. The government did essentially a sweetheart deal here. I need to tap Skep on the shoulder and bring him in. You with me, Skep?
Yes.
Okay, so Skep, when the government decides it wants to do something, and it wants to use commercial businesses to achieve some goal, there's a bunch of different vehicles they can use. But it frequently looks like the following. Private company, we will basically pay you to do task X in exchange for whatever your reasonable expenses. And then depending on how good a job we do, you will get something that looks like an award fee that's like an attaboy, basically, and you will make an additional profit above and beyond the reasonable profit we factored into this contract. And I know I'm using a huge paintbrush, but that's basically the way it works with a lot of this stuff. And that's what they did with these drug companies, wasn't it? They said, we want you to produce, we'll basically buy this many doses at this cost.
They did exactly what they always did. They did exactly what they do with IT contracts, and the thing that was, this was just what was going to be produced this time, and it's a
cost plus.
Cost plus, and there's good news and bad news doing things that way, but when you're dealing with these folks. They essentially said, we're the government and we have a huge problem, and we'll basically open up the vaults and let you just have your way with us. That's what really got said.
This was such a, in Rahm Emanuel style, this was such a sweetheart deal that they were able to really make some money. So functional. So if you look at like a single problem where the market's a little less crazy than COVID, something like stomach acid medicine, like proton pump inhibitors, right? There's Protonics and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's over the counter now. And for the longest time, there were, a handful of drug companies all trying to come out with the one thing to cure our heartburn because there's just so many, fat people eating cheeseburgers and chocolate shakes.
Yeah.
Right? So there was a lot of competition, but it gets super complicated because when you factor in the drug companies and the insurance companies and how the insurance companies buy the drugs and all of this stuff, there's just like, it just kind of makes you feel gross just looking at it, as the consumer, because none of these people really have our best interests. All they want to do is not necessarily even make the best product, just make the product that people buy. And it isn't necessarily the best product. Yeah, they'll sell you not the best product, and they won't even bat an eye over it because they have no conscience.
No, great example. Pfizer produced an antibiotic that was notable for its deficit against the principal for respiratory infections. It was not effective against staph and strep, but it was effective against this other major pathogen called Haemophilus influenza that causes a lot of the upper respiratory misery people have. And so they said, we'll sell it for that. It'll cure Haemophilus. What about the fact that over 50% of this stuff is strep or mixed strep? It's not going to touch that. Well, they'll probably use something if doxycycline's not effective. They actually asked us to go out and sell that stuff for respiratory infections.
Even though it wasn't suited for it?
It was not even suited as a third measure, as a third drug to try. Truly,
it's like they don't care.
Yeah, almost like they care more about money than people's health. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, but because Functional's right. I mean, your cynicism is well founded. They would.
Thank you for finally admitting it.
No, I'm just. I'm saying.
I know. We're all coming to the same
about your attitude, young man.
That the point is that there's more money in keeping somebody on maintenance than there is on curing them in a lot of cases. But that doesn't stop people from coming up with like an HPV vaccine, because the person who sells you the HPV vaccine is not the same person that would make the money treating your cervical cancer. That's what makes the system work, is if you have competition, there's always somebody trying to undercut the other guy. It's only when the government, specifically the government, allows them to pervert the relationship with rules and regulations that you're able to get these weird sweetheart deals. Because wouldn't you, if you were just the consumer, you would go to your doctor and he would give you the stomach medicine that works. He'd say, here, bud, have some Protonics. Don't waste your time with this other crap, right? Just have some Protonics. You take it, you run your 3-4 week course, and then you get on with your life. And that would be it. You wouldn't be on maintenance. But instead, some drug company makes a deal with a pharmacy, and then you're taking Prilosec for the rest of your life.
And no, Elwin, it does. It's about 90% effective. She says the HPV vaccine doesn't work.
Well, I mean, even if it's only 75% effective, it's still a thing that costs very little money and potentially prevents a bad disease.
I think I just
you don't
know
want to end up like... who's the guy that got cervical cancer? Got throat cancer from Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Michael Douglas?
It's Michael Douglas.
No. I think I know the study that she's thinking of.
What was that, Harry? What did you just
Michael
say?
Douglas, old guy, married to super hot Catherine Zeta-Jones, got throat cancer, I think, because of his relations with his super hot young wife. And comedians have made a real meal out of this as a basis for a lot of jokes, because honestly, it's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, no, there's an article on WebMD talking about it. This is from like years ago, though.
Are you talking about the HPV vaccine?
Missed that completely.
Yeah, well, it's because it's not just about women who are protected from it. It's also, the men in their lives. HPV is not a fun thing. But of course, the joke is basically, yes, it's bad that he has this cancer.
Oh, okay.
However, the way he got it makes him such an epic hero to men everywhere that it's kind of okay. That's
I want to
brag.
I want to get back to this though, because Elwin, I think I know the story, the study you're talking about, where for cervical cancer it had like a 15% efficacy rate, but for genital warts, or maybe it was gonorrhea, some other STD, it was like 95% effective. And so they switched uses
And Kirk Douglas has them all.
It was still initially marketed, in the late 90s as a complete, safe and effective 100% efficacy vaccine for cervical cancer, which was false.
Yeah, but the issue is the efficacy isn't the issue. The important thing is that it's different people selling you the product, which is why in some cases where you have this ridiculous monopoly, like in the COVID thing, where everybody's just jerking each other off between the government and industry, that's one circumstance. But when the market works the way it's supposed to, you have options and you get them from different suppliers. And, there's lots of examples of where it works. And when it doesn't work, oh man, does it not work? When the whole drug thing doesn't work, it's pretty epic. I don't remember, why are we talking about drugs? I've lost track.
Because I compared that to the homeless situation of perpetuating these industries. Now, to bring it back to homelessness or this kind of thing, is there I deign to say the word cure, but is there a better end goal? Because if left to their own devices, we've seen over the last 3-4 decades, developers would rather make a shorter term return on their developments in building expensive condos, mid to expensive range condos, as opposed to making long-term investment rental housing, apartment buildings.
Okay, thought experiment. Suppose we just left everything alone, right? And we let the developers build whatever they want to build, wherever they want to build it. There would be a huge demand from people who work for high-tech companies to build expensive condos, right? So there would be a lot of demand for entry-level homes and for people to have, $1.5 million townhouses, right? This does not solve the low-income housing problem at all. You tear down a bunch of the low-income housing and build more and more of these high-value things. Eventually, what happens is you end up with a situation where the people who do all of the blue-collar labor and, wipe people's butts at the nursing home and all that stuff can't live near the jobs that you want to have filled.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so you end up with a situation where, what are they going to do? Are they going to live in Stockton or Fresno and then spend 2 hours on a train every day to get to their job? And it gets, as things sort of expand outward, it gets worse and worse and worse. Ultimately, you will end up in a situation where things will be so far out of equilibrium that something will have to change. What's really going to happen is the value of those high-value apartments and stuff will start to crash. Because nobody's going to live in a place where there's no damn water and you can't get food done. You can't get your lawn mowed. You can't, there's just going to be all these things you're not going to be able to get. All of the essential services are not going to be there. There's going to be a collapse and then there's going to be a reshuffling. You can't sustain this thing where all you build is luxury homes as far as the eye can see. It just doesn't work. You could pay some people to take that train from further and further away, but then that's just going to raise the cost of everything else. I don't think the government needs to plan housing. I think the market will just do it on its own.
The market does a tremendous job. The market does a tremendous job of planning because it responds to what people want, and it is instant and it is infinitely responsive.
Yeah, you will get high-density, lower-cost housing near commute corridors. Like, for instance, if a train line exists...
Why is it not happening now? The demand is there in almost every major city in the Western Hemisphere, and they're not building them. So
I can tell you why it doesn't happen in a place like San Francisco, just to give you one concrete example. It's because the people who already live there stop any change from taking place.
Right.
They could build all kinds of low-income housing and new stuff if they wanted, but the neighborhood associations have been given a certain amount of political power that makes it so that you cannot build new lower-income housing in San Francisco, even though there's a demand for people to live in those houses and do jobs there.
Okay, but there's a demand, but there's no incentive for developers to build these. Like I said at the beginning of this rant, they can make a quicker return, even though it might be 60%, 70% of the or even over time a lot less of a percentage to build things like condo buildings, which are generally much more expensive than rental housing,
and much riskier.
No, not at all.
Beta's much higher on a condo.
I think I know. I think I see a bit of sunlight in your argument here. It's not the renters who buy the low-income housing. It's the people who buy the buildings are the people that want to rent to the renters.
Yes.
So it's investors who buy them. What we're saying is that there are investors who want to build these things and make a monthly income off of them. This is a good way to make a monthly income if you don't have things like moratoriums on evictions and other weird government aberrations.
Other things that make landlords buy houses and not rent them out, just hold them as investment. That's a real problem.
In the case of San Francisco, the only people who don't want more housing built, that's more affordable for the average working class person, the only people who don't want it are the people who live in the existing rundown low-income houses. Everybody else, the employers, all the people who want to move there, everybody else wants it. It's just the neighborhood associations, and it's just a broken political system, and at a certain point it's got to give way. And this isn't just my opinion. Reason did a pretty good thing on this about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't have it handy. But I don't know if every place is as pathological as San Francisco, but I would be shocked if Toronto doesn't have a lot of the same problems. Do you have issues with like neighborhood committees stop blocking a lot of development?
No, it's yes, but not as big of a problem as you have illustrated. It's more, I'd say denser single-family homes don't want giant condos springing up in their particular neighborhoods. However, there's other places where even the municipality and the provincial government had to step in because these developers wanted to tear down rental buildings to put up more condos, and we're so flooded by condos that the vacancy rate is more than half. The ownership rate is hovering somewhere between 75-80%, and people are buying them and then sitting on them, and then nobody's living in them. It's again, it comes back to these developers who can build the buildings, sell them. Yes, it's easier to sell than a bunch of individual units as opposed to an entire building's worth to a rental corporation or something like that, or an individual. But the quick buck is there, and the government had to step in and say, whoa, you got to slow down. We're going to have to put a limit on how many of these buildings you're putting up, because you can't be putting them up in these smaller communities, but you also can't be tearing down the more affordable homes to put up these more condos when they're just not. There's no need for it, other than the market is driving this perpetuating machine. I don't know enough about everything, but the little pieces that I see here or there, like it's not adding up, and that's why I'm kind of like,
Yeah. The only thing I would suggest to you is you just sort of like, whenever you think about these issues, kind of run the thought experiment in your head and say, okay, well, what would happen if, and the big if is almost always, if the government got the hell out of the way, what would happen? You can't build high-income, high-value properties if you don't also have some nearby places for the people to live that support those things. You need cops, you need teachers, you need all these things.
That's central planning, and these developers don't give a shit about central planning.
No, it's not central planning. It's not central planning. It's the market needs these things.
It's strategic planning for a more sustainable model, but you're looking at it at the macro scale where these corporations. I hate just use the boogeyman, the corporations, but that these developers, they don't care if it's sustainable. They're in it to make their money, to build
they
their,
only
their
care about
shit
the next
and
deal.
get their money and get out and get to the next deal. Yeah. So when you have those people in charge of planning what to develop next, I don't think that that's entirely. I think there needs to be oversight of some kind.
They don't.
I hate to
they
say
don't,
the government
no,
has
they
to
don't
do it.
decide. They don't actually decide. The people who decide are the people that buy the developments, because the developers build things with the intent of selling them. The developers don't get to decide what society looks like. The buyers decide what society looks like. The developers respond to the buyers. The developers can build all the stuff they want, and if nobody wants to buy it, they will all go out of business. That's the way those margins work.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah, I know. But speaking of rich douchebags, at least
their
8
creative
Russian
vision?
businessmen have died in apparent suicide or accidents in just 6 months. Have you
Lot
guys
of
heard
guys-
about any of this?
Diving boards on high buildings is what I'm hearing in Russia. Yeah, it's
At
great
least
fun.
8
Bungee
prominent
jumping without a
Russian
bungee.
Russian businessmen have reportedly died by suicide or in as yet unexplained accidents since late January, with 6 of them associated with Russia's 2 largest energy companies.
Hey,
Yeah, we've got some
defenestration is
suicides.
back, and I'm here for it.
We've got
That
suicides,
is my favorite word in the English language, by the way.
and we've got murder suicides, where like the whole families end up just buying it. Now,
Didn't some bigwig's daughter get like blown up in a car bomb like just a couple weeks ago? Like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
yeah, it's like it's just. I mean, I didn't think these people all were on Hillary Clinton's list. So clearly, there must be some other political force helping these people get Clintoned.
Yeah, it's almost like, still living in the West is still the best of everything.
Some of these people died in the West. Some of these
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were living in the West and they died anyway. It's
I'm
as
sure.
if-
I'm sure if some Russian oligarch wanted me dead for whatever reason, they would have no trouble doing it. It's just like, I'm not a high value target, so why bother?
Well, okay, so this feels, and obviously I can't prove anything about this, but it sure feels like
Somebody's cleaning house.
somebody's getting rid of people that they think might not be fully in support of certain people in power.
I just think that they know too much about what's been going on.
Yeah.
Because
I don't
all these
know.
people made a whole lot of money over the last 20 years. With Gazprom and their deals with Germany and Sweden that are now having problems getting their energy out because of certain embargoes.
I actually think that a lot of this is shock absorption of the changes necessitated for Russia. Russia was being squeezed. There's no doubt about it. The whole thing with Ukraine is about Russia feeling like it's being squeezed into irrelevance and out of the Europe business. And it wants to be a player in that world, has always wanted to be a player, has always had a huge inferiority complex about that. And I think Putin just said, no, you are not marginalizing my country. We have fallen so far since the heyday of the Soviet Union. And he still, thinks of that time as the great time. And he'd like to get some of that back.
Yeah.
And part of what he's doing, I think, in Ukraine is a response to that economic and psychological pressure that he felt. It's just
Do you think the encroachment of NATO has also played a factor in this sort of acceleration?
That's almost the biggest. That's one of the biggest forces. Yes.
Oh,
that's
okay,
one of the biggest components of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What feels like he's being backed into a corner.
Yeah, no, you just mentioned more economically. I was just wondering if the military side of it. And I think it's kind of in poor taste how at the end of this stupid fucking CNN article, How to Get Help in the United States, called the National Suicide Prevention Line.
NATO may be a treaty.
Finger salute.
NATO may be a treaty organization. Let me just tell you the truth. NATO at bottom is an economic organization. That's all it is right now.
Oh, it's definitely morphed into that more so than anything. But
yeah.
Well,
I just find that in poor taste. These were not people unhappy with
Yeah.
their lives
We have separate intelligence agreements with different people that we trust, and sort of there's agreements we have with people we trust a lot, and then there's other agreements we have with people we trust a little bit less, and they go out sort of in waves all the way out to people we don't trust all that much, but we still share some information with. So you look at Five Eyes and things like that. So I think that part of most of NATO is just economics, but there is a military component to it because we have communication structures in place should they ever be needed. Mm-hmm. Most of the time they just lie dormant. In fact, hopefully they will lie dormant pretty much forever.
Yeah.
Other than for the occasional
We don't need another big world war. That would be...
Yeah, no, not looking forward to it. But I wanted to talk about this. It was actually brought up on a couple different things. I think Lotus Eaters touched on this one. There was a ridiculous video that was put out about this thing called, what is it called again? Sorry, I have a headache, so I'm not thinking 100% straight here. Food neutrality. Now, food neutrality is an interesting idea. I actually sort of think this is true. You sort of, the idea is you don't look at food as being good or bad. You just sort of look at it all being fuel and then look at the overall fuel budget at the end of the day. So you don't say, don't eat that donut, it's bad for you. You just look at sort of the resulting thing. But as you can imagine, the fat positivity people have gotten their grubby little hands on this thing and sort of morphed it into this terrible, terrible idea. So this video was not from an LA school, but it got retweeted by them. So just take a look at this this little item here. LA schools urge students to eat without guilt, promotes food neutrality. That is not what food neutrality is supposed to be. The idea of food neutrality is your body doesn't know the difference between GMO corn and regular corn. It's all just carbohydrates with a tiny amount of vitamin A and fiber at the end of the day, right? So thinking of food as being magical and special is a bad way of looking at it. But oh no, you really want these black nutritionists and Savage X Fatty telling people that it's healthy at any size, and if you want to eat donuts, that's totally okay. So here's their little video.
I got us donuts. Those are so bad for you. Oh no, are they moldy? I mean, are they poisoned? Are you allergic? No, I'm just saying. You're judging my food choices based on a false standard of health again, aren't you? Guilty.
Diet culture,
actually, they are poison,
and systems of oppression have created false hierarchies of food, and it shows up everywhere.
For instance, harmful thought patterns like earning food through exercising, or that dessert is the reward for the punishment of eating vegetables.
Remember that you do not need to earn food.
We are all incorrectly taught from a young age that our size, and therefore the foods that we eat, are markers of our self-worth. Moralizing food can lead to harmful relationships with food and disordered eating.
Okay.
Hey, Savage Fatty, show me one person Skep's age at your weight. I've got time. I can wait all fucking week if you want. There are no people that make it to a senior level in life who maintain that level of weight.
That fat lady will not see 70. She will not see 70.
She won't see 55, Skep.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the tragedy.
Yeah.
It shortens your life. It is one of the biggest health crises in fucking the world right now.
Here's some numbers for you, Functional. NIH study finds extreme obesity may shorten life expectancy up to 14 years. I think that's conservative, honestly.
That's very conservative.
14.
But the idea that there's no relationship between being extremely obese and having a long lifespan is crazy. And Savage X Fatty should not be giving advice to kids or kids' parents.
This stuff is protected online. This stuff is promoted through different government agencies across the West. And no censorship whatsoever, even though it is provably one of the big health concerns of our generation for the last 3 generations.
But Functional,
and yet saying something like
Muslim
maybe you
influencer.
should take a certain anti-parasitic as a therapeutic for a certain disease, that will get wiped and scrubbed from every possible aspect they can.
You hate her because she's bisexual, don't you?
I hate her because she's black.
No, the first one. This
like
is
her heart,
first,
not her skin. Her heart. Her heart.
This
is
the Muslim bisexual woman. Yeah, yeah. How come you tell kids not to eat donuts? Donuts are
It's not
delicious.
really a tragedy, assassin. I mean, nature should correct itself.
It will.
But I'm also a liberal
care.
that believes in a social safety net, and that these fucking parasites are going to bleed that safety net dry.
Also, there's no way in hell she's bisexual and a Muslim, because no.
Maybe she uses air quotes when she says Muslim.
Yeah.
This bad eating. I mean, obviously, food is close to my heart. It's something I have a real passion for, and health is obviously another big concern for somebody like myself. I just when people are so egregious with their lies and they're pushing evil bullshit like this, I get so worked up. This is worse than like 3-ingredient cakes, Harry. Oh. Now I want cake.
I'm actually on Dr. Kara's site, the Black nutritionist. This is ready to decolonize your plate. I'm Dr. Kara, nutrition expert, food activist, and nutrition coach, empowering Black women with the know-how to better nurture their bodies by letting go of food guilt and shame.
Even worse, because Black people have a worse obesity problem than white people in North America.
They have serious problems with high blood pressure and other health issues.
Yes.
I hate, you know what? There are actually differences in health outcomes across different groups of human beings. I know we want to pretend that there aren't.
Weird.
But there are. You know, there's reasons why a lot of Asian people can't drink alcohol. You know, there's reasons why some people don't digest lactose particularly well. We may all be one big happy family, but there are subtle differences.
She has her doctorate in nutrition and ingredient research. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Probably
this is
from
just
IT
terrible.
Oh no! Oh no! We let her be a clinical researcher here at St. Mike's Hospital in Toronto. That's terrible.
Oh wait, I forgot that I can do this with my thing.
She got it in France. University of Rennes in France.
Rennes.
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 Rennes. Be fine. Rennes.
So like Peter Griffin.
It's supposed to be Rams, but Americans can't do the MS right, so soft with that soft French pronunciation, so it's a give up.
Oh man, this gets me.
See, who is it?
So
who is it was talking about? Oh, KFC, Cannibalistic Wizard. Wait a second, I have to do. You're gonna love this special effect here. This is gonna be cool. I've got this thing that I've got for my virtual camera. Has a lot of really cool features. Let's see. Dumplings. Where are you?
Doctorate in France.
I'm trying to find fried chicken. Where is it?
She has a website, and it's her tagline is "Decolonize your plate."
Yeah, that's what I was just on. I was just reading the tagline from her website.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to go a little bit deeper, Serenity, and find what her actual, because she's a doctor, what her doctorate was and where it was from. Because
I'm trying to find out how much she charges. Because that's what I'm curious about. Because
and how much she charges different types of people.
Yeah.
Those colonizers got to pay more for those courses, you know.
Here, I gave her some chicken.
Oh, that looks so delicious.
There
right
you
now.
go.
I can have a whole meal.
That's what she needs is a session with the Colonel.
You know what though? Like I would rather that bucket of chicken and all the good and the bad that comes in that bucket than I would that plate of donuts. The fat, the grease, the salt, like on the chicken, sure, would be taking it to a really bad excess, but I think that excess is little less damaging than a plate.
You think it's better because it surrounds protein, because all the congealed grease and sugar and spices surround a bit of protein of actual nutrition. Whereas
it would be wrong if I clicked on the watermelon. There's a
just
watermelon
carbs
thing here.
and
That would
sugar,
be
yeah.
wrong, right?
Yes, that would.
No, it would not be wrong. I think that would be right. I think that would be very,
wrong,
very
Gary. Don't you dare.
But if I put the watermelon in with a burger, see, now it's all
There you
fine.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Any grape drink?
Purple drink? I don't know.
I'm out of coffee. I need something to drink.
I don't know. Do I have a grape soda here? I have grapes.
Oh my god.
Grape juice. Let's see. I don't know. Technology.
Okay,
is
what's the next
mistake.
story? Because I
How about
can't
a-
keep looking at this.
Oh, you're
Glock
gonna hate the next
17.
story. You're
Here
gonna
we
hate
go.
the
Not
next
as much.
story.
I hate this.
Well, because it's called terrible food. Okay, here we go. Just for you. There
Those
is
high protein diets are terrible. I tells you.
Let's see. What about this functional?
When I see cotton
cotton
candy,
candy?
it's a little tiny poof on a stick, but not this one. This is the cotton candy rocket turned
Oh,
into
no.
a giant cotton candy burrito. And if you haven't
Oh,
seen a
no.
regular cotton candy burrito, then where have you been? No, but seriously, I have posted the cotton candy burrito from Creamberry several times, so make sure you go back and check out
You're
my
taking
previous video.
cotton
So
candy
back
and
to
then
this rocket.
squishing
After
it.
they layer it with several dry toppings of your choosing, they roll it up and then they slice it.
It's like
And since
sushi.
This is in Vegas, where it's hotter than the sun. They recommend you order and eat this inside the shop because
I recommend you don't order it and don't eat it ever.
Oh,
Stay
that was
away from that.
there was something like that in Los Angeles like 7 years ago because I saw a video about someone talking about it and going there.
This is food
Fetus.
gone bad.
Fetus. This reminds me of that scene from The Simpsons where Bart and Milhouse play hooky. They get like pure syrup squishy, and they
Oh, yeah.
like completely just like blow their minds. And
Yeah.
how can
Yeah.
a human body handle a sugar shock like that?
A Jolly Rancher is not a sprinkle.
I want to try my pun again. This is food gone bad.
Mm-hmm.
Please appreciate my pun. Thank you very much.
Yes. Well, it's not just terrible things like this. There's also this kind of crap.
Yeah.
Mashed potato flavored liquid concentrate, unsweetened.
Yo,
Why
send
would
me
be
that
sweetened?
link.
You really want this?
Hells yeah! I can eat an entire sitting of mashed potatoes in 2 drops. I'll be thin in no time. I already have.
You know, this isn't Willy Wonka's
Circle over
factory
here,
where you know you get the blueberry pie that's in a
Oh,
pill.
it's not like the
and then you-
everlasting gobstopper of potato mash.
It's just mashed
Oh.
potato extract.
So it tastes like butter and salt.
Okay.
But it'd be nice to put on something like
Am I
mashed
wrong?
cauliflower or something like that. So this way it tastes like
That's
mashed
good
potatoes.
functional.
But you know, before we get too far from the last thing, the food gone wrong, the sushi from hell, I could see myself having a piece of that as, you know, a treat. And no one in that story is saying this is good eating, this is healthy for you, this is how you should be living your life, which is the
Okay, here, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you just a little bit more. How about
living your best life?
Hey.
hot dogs
Hey
and
now.
manicotti? Look at that.
Okay.
Velveeta cheese.
That's
Maybe-
real cheese. That's real cheese right there.
Looks like a block
Cheese
of
you
Velveeta.
can cut with this.
It is a block of Velveeta.
Okay, I thought that was real. I thought that was Velveeta,
Exactly
not
what
real
that is.
cheese.
shake it.
No.
Yeah, baby.
Macaroni and hot dogs. It's macaroni.
Is that going
and
in the
cheese hot dog.
microwave? That's got to go in the microwave.
No, it's going in the oven.
No, it's fast dish. Just go in the oven.
Yeah.
Put that,
It's-
put
it
that
looks
in the
really
microwave.
good.
What did the cheese do? 3.5 hours.
The cheese melted
It's macaroni,
all
cheese, and hot
over
dogs.
the pasta.
That little kid's meal that like
The
every
pasta's
kid
nice
got
and
when they were
soft.
little. Well, I
The
did
hot
anyway.
dogs are perfectly cooked
Where they cut the hot
inside.
dogs.
Wow, look at this.
Oh yeah, look he's
Slice it down the middle.
It looks that actually is what happens when atherosclerosis becomes food.
I think it looks actually pretty good to have every once in a while, but okay.
I mean,
Like,
I mean,
it's,
if they were Italian sausages, maybe, but this is just wrong.
Yeah.
I was just
exactly.
about to say
Yeah.
I've done similar things with sausage.
Do
Because
the
sausage is real
same thing
food.
with actual
Giggity.
food.
Yeah, with real food, Skep. Yeah, like you could use ground beef or ground meat of any kind, or like a proper
you can make
ground
a
sausage.
proper Italian sausage. Yeah.
You could take a proper
Hot
Italian
dogs is
sausage.
not real food.
You could take a proper Italian sausage. You could take the meat out, out of the casing, shove it into these, or put it in with the casing. I don't fucking care. Put them in there, throw some bechamel over the top of it, bada bing, bada boom. You could make something good. You could make something good out of this, but no, she's got hot dogs. But this isn't the worst thing.
And processed cheese food. It's the stuff that processed cheese eats.
This is really, this is like a call for help. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
TikTok needs to be gotten rid of.
Serenity, if you were using proper, Italian mozzarella, then I would be okay with it.
You see what's happening?
What did you just put on there?
Are those blueberries?
No, these are raisins. Well,
actually,
no,
it says dried blueberry.
It says dried blueberries. Yeah. So putting them on spaghetti.
Because that's what I always use. This is very common Italian dish.
That was sugar, by the way, not salt.
Yeah. Blueberry spaghetti. Yep. Delicious.
Yeah. Delicious.
Kill me. Of course, the milk. And grate on some cyanide. Excellent choice. Something.
Was that like a block of Dorito cheese?
I'm not sure what the hell it is because it's freaking.
I've never seen a block of Dorito cheese eat a block.
Yes,
of
everybody.
Cheese.
I figured out how to basically scrape videos from TikTok. And
Eli, kill yourself. You fucking monster. Right. No, but anyway, a lot of people. This shit's. It really hits the algorithm. A lot of people are watching these horrible cooking, horrible food videos. And I mean, it's the market, right? If it's going to start selling, people are going to make more of them. There's going to be more people who make these things. This is exactly why I'm not on TikTok.
And to make it even worse, it's one of those people who has their pronouns in their bio, and their bio is and their pronouns are they, she.
They, she, yes.
Because that looks like a she. Looks like a they.
It looks like
it.
Something.
Oh no, they're terrible. Like
about as real as this mashed potato extract.
Like this is intentional, obviously, because like he's got one where he takes SpaghettiOs and freezes it, then cuts it into blocks. He's intentionally doing it for the fact this way people will react to it, and this way he can get views. That's all it is. Like, I would be amazed if he actually eats it.
SpaghettiO popsicles. Nom.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing. Well, I put something not totally fluffy in front of this, between this and the other thing that was there, because the next thing is a little challenging, and I have to be kind of careful with this because.
Is it meat?
It better be meat. It involves people with chronic pain. Now, I know people with chronic pain.
Yes.
Present.
I was about to say we're speaking to one.
Exactly. I know people with chronic pain, and I don't mean to imply that all people with chronic pain have psychological problems or are faking it. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just get that out of the way right here.
Some of us are just old.
But we do notice that there's an awful lot of teenage girls, typically white, who seem to have an awful lot of health problems at a fairly early age. Again, I know people with lupus. I know people with chronic pain. I have a friend who's got a really weird neurological thing where it's like the mitochondria in his brain just decide to give up after 15 seconds of thought. He's having all kinds of trouble with it. And I know he's not faking it. Okay? I mean, I know people who've got problems. But it seems a bit weird to me, the number of young white girls that are going online kind of clout chasing based on disability stuff. And I would be shocked if some of them aren't, basically head cases. If you look at the data, there is a lot of comorbidity between psychological conditions and people saying, oh, I have juvenile fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that everybody who has like some kind of pain thing is faking it or is kind of sick in the head. But if you see a lot of these people come in, there's a very high correlation. Now, whether it's cause and effect, I don't know. I did a bunch of research and I was boring myself, so I'm not going to subject you all to it. I'm just going to say, based on what little I know, this came up again on the Lotus Eaters. And they were actually being, I think, a little cruel about the whole thing because I'm generally not a fan of mocking people.
Yeah.
But have you heard of the Spoonies thing?
The spoonies
I didn't know they
thing
had the name
comes from the way people explain chronic illness to people who don't understand is like, I only have so many spoons in a drawer. Once I've used all those spoons, I'm done. And that's where originally it comes from. Because I follow people who actually have like actual diagnosed chronic illness on YouTube. The issue is that this is just another wave, because before this it was DID, which is excruciatingly rare, but if you look at TikTok, it's everywhere. This then followed Tourette's, which they caught several people faking it, and then they just deleted everything off the platforms. And now they're on to this, where it's kind of like, I believe chronic illness exists, but the problem is that I've seen so many of these girls, and boys do it too, but it's a lot of girls get coached on what to say to their doctors to get them a diagnosis. Because
usually by peers, not.
Yeah.
It's been called, some people call it Munchausen by internet, which I think is a brilliant way to describe it.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's kind of like, and the thing is, it kind of extended from this thing, and once again, it's an entire female thing, because I've never had this issue, but apparently a lot of women do, where they go to the doctor, they talk to their doctor about being in pain or actually having issues, and the doctor, air quotes, doesn't believe them. And my thing has always been, one, there are asshole doctors out there. I'm not going to deny it. There's assholes in every single profession. I'm not going to deny that. My issue is that I know women like you, and you won't tell anybody the full extent of anything. You either downplay it or you act like it's not that bad, and then
they
you
act like they're a patient on house. Won't say anything. Figure it out.
And it's one of those things. It's like you have to be explicit with them. Like, I'm very lucky. I've had the same GP. He's retired recently, but I had the same GP since I was 6 years old. He knows everything about me. And so, like, I couldn't pull that crap with him, because he would be like, you have no history. We have done blood. Don't start this with me. And that would be the way it would go. But a lot of these women, it's once again that whole thing of they're taking away from the people who actually have this, because you're now making doctors question everything. And they're questioning even more, because now their career is on the line, because if they get caught giving this thing to a girl who then gets found out to be faking, it's not going to put their entire like career down the toilet, but it's not going to look good.
So Serenity, I need to do a little framing, and then I'll hand it back to you. So when you talk about chronic disease, there are two different types. There's chronic disease where you find a cause, and you can say, there it is, right? It's a thing on an MRI, or it shows up in a blood test, and you say, you have lupus, you have problems with your spine, you have this, that, or the other thing. And then there's people who don't have any organic cause they can identify, and then you refer to that as idiopathic, meaning you've got a bunch of symptoms, but you don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
So to my mind, it's important to just immediately separate the people who have like a confirmed diagnosis to something real versus the catch-all diagnosis of fibromyalgia. Again, not saying that somebody who has fibromyalgia is necessarily faking it, but I do have to be really suspicious when I see people clout chasing, because, if somebody has an incentive to lie, there are going to be some people who are lying, and these people are ruining their lives, like anybody with Munchausen's would do. They are ruining their lives because they are cutting themselves off from relationships, from jobs, from education. I mean, every aspect of their life gets kind of destroyed because they're spending time in a hospital getting treatments for something that they may not
reacting
even be
to a
sick
psychological urge that is pathological in origin.
But the spooning thing... Oh, sorry, you go, Skep, and then I want to go back to Serenity.
Okay, a lot of people don't realize there's a difference between a symptom and a sign. I mean, a symptom is the manifestation of a disease that the patient feels, understands, and a sign to medically is a manifestation of the disease that the physician perceives. The sign is objective evidence of the disease. The problem with fibromyalgia is that what few signs are there are fleeting, and they're inconsistent. And that makes me think that fibromyalgia is essentially a wastebasket diagnosis for a lot of other things, either undiagnosed other conditions that the physician is missing signs of, or that the physician and patient, the physician is missing the signs, the patient is actually missing the symptoms, believing other symptoms. Some of it's psychologically, psychological in origin. There's a lot of reasons for that, but essentially it boils down to when somebody comes in. They used to call fibromyalgia before 1981. They called it, I think, fibrositis or something. And that was just when I was getting out of the Pfizer business. It used to be called I think it was called fibrositis.
I think it was just bursitis.
No, it was fibrositis.
No, well, yeah.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
it was fibrositis.
Bursitis is a specific
bursitis is something
diagnosis.
different.
Yeah.
That's an inflammation of the bursae. Literally, the bursae is a structure in your upper chest, or actually your upper back. And when it becomes inflamed, that is bursitis. Bursitis is a thing, but that's not what we're talking about.
I thought the bursa surrounded the knees. I could be wrong.
Yeah, wait, bursal sacs. You're right, bursal sacs. I'm getting old. Don't press me on this anatomy shit.
I'm not going to
Anyway.
press you on it, but you know what I mean.
Sorry, I thought it was.
I'm the one doing
together.
it to myself. I'm doing this to myself. All right, you're right. You're right. Bursal sacs are someplace else. The ones in the chest. What am I thinking of? The meninges. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
anyway.
the whole chest thing is bad because it mimics heart problems, and it can also induce a lot of anxiety because, of course, you're thinking, am I dying, or, what is it? Yeah, a lot of times the pain in the chest that is musculoskeletal can create a vasovagal response, too, which reinforces the fears that it might be cardiac.
Yep.
A lot of people have spent a lot of time in an emergency room for pain, which they thought was heart pain, and it really wasn't.
That's why a blood test for heart attack is really important. You got to see those enzymes in the bloodstream. You can really detect a cardiac problem.
But in terms of this, I thought it was interesting. Urban Dictionary actually has a reasonably good definition. It's pretty close to what Serenity said. A spoonie is somebody living with a chronic illness. It mostly refers to physical chronic illness, though it has been known to be helpful term for those with chronic mental illness as well. Originates from Christine Don't Care Spoon Theory story, in which she explains what it's like to live with chronic illness to a friend, uses a handful of spoons to demonstrate. It's really more of a metaphor for explaining something than a theory. I hate when they use the word theory like this sort of stuff. Socializing might cost spoons, using the stairs might cost spoons, lifting things might cost spoons, etc. So I'm a big fan.
Fuck your spoons.
If the thing is, if you've got something bad that's happened to you, you can fight it for all it's worth, because you're only going to be alive once, as far as I know. So you try to put up the good fight. You do as much as you can, and you try to show us a little bit of grace in life. Or you can turn it into your freaking identity, where you essentially become a victim in your own mind, and you tell everybody else you're a victim. So look at this person. This is Spoonie Sister Shop, and so she has all these little videos. This is just one of them. There's a whole bunch of them.
Well, before we
go ahead.
Well, before we go into this, it's like the problem is like there's so many charities that make their own amount of money and everything like that from people like this. Like, I literally watched a video on Instagram of a girl, because I don't have TikTok because I refuse. Who
I don't either. Look, I'm not logged in.
Oh yeah, no, I know. But it's like she had a trained giant schnauzer who, that when she went out in public, because she has social anxiety problems, had the schnauzer go in a circle around her to make sure no one touched her. I'm like, then don't go out in public, bitch. You're hurting other people because you want other people to bow to you. I was actually impressed. There was the comments on the video before she closed the comments were actually a lot of people going, then don't go out in public. Don't make that dog have to do that work because you're too cowardly to stay home. Because she went to Disney World. She went to Disney World in a shopping center at 2:00. And like, there were people with it, like, because if anyone's who's been to Disney World and that shopping center where Treasure Island used to be, there's people everywhere and it's jammed packed. And she was like, her dog literally ran into a stroller and almost knocked a kid out of a stroller, and she still tried to play victim. Like, so these kind of bitches can go fuck themselves.
I know. I've muted this. Okay, so we don't have to listen to the incredibly annoying everything about TikTok sucks. But look at the number of tags on this video. holy crap, that is like so many tags. It's like I'm sorry if you actually have mast cell syndrome, because that's a terrible, terrible thing, and I'm sorry if you're actually sick, but it sure feels like the Spoonie thing has turned into a brand, and I don't feel like they're really helping people overall. I think maybe a book on stoicism might be a much better choice.
You know,
what do you think, Skep? Little Marcus Aurelius?
Yeah, exactly. Suck it up, bitch. You know, I for someone I have seen, you know, coming from the working for Pfizer, you spend a lot of time in hospitals looking at sick people. And when I look at this girl, I see a well girl. I don't see any her skin looks good. Her hair looks okay.
Yep.
Her proportions are, you know, normal. She's not a good looking person, but she's not a bad looking person. The problem, I believe, is between her ears. It's internal. It's an internal head problem. That's the only problem she has, I believe.
Yeah.
Well,
I
the way you can
go, and then I'm going to let Functional close us out on this topic.
The best way to show this is like, you can tell someone is doing stuff to be able to get to the point in TikTok where they can make money off their TikTok by their tags. Now, the amount of tags is a bitch, but if she was only caring about bringing awareness to like Spoonie and medical stuff, that would be fine. But the fact that she took the time to tag it with For You page and For You page in Korean tells me everything I need to know about her, because you do not tag it with that unless you want it to end on people's For You page, or at least try your hardest for. Now, considering how many views she has, she very obviously isn't succeeding, but she's trying, by gum.
Munchausen by internet.
Basically.
Munchausen by internet. But yeah, I feel that Functional should be the one to get the last word on this. What do you think about all this stuff, Functional?
There's one quick thing from the beginning. I think it was when Skep was talking. It's sort of like, you know, we have this problem. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The actual physical problem or the mental condition? Because as we know, and I will tell you firsthand experience with someone who suffers from chronic pain before my time, not from old age or, you know, wear and tear. It's more anyway. It's so inextricably linked. A positive mental day you'll be able to muscle through all the pain, all the drudgery that your body just will not cooperate. You can still muscle through, because when the dishes need to get done, when the floor needs to be swept, it needs to get done. You do it. You can't, as you said, Harry, let this become your identity. Because you know what, Cupcake? Everybody's got pain. Everybody's got some fucking thing that makes it hard for them to get out of bed every day. But you know what? Most of us fucking do it. Because if you don't, you die. That's life. Oh. This has been an angry show. I'm glad I showed up late.
Unless you've got a family member or a romantic partner who enables you to go on like that, you don't have an option but to get up and throw some hot dogs into some manicotti or whatever you need to do to feed yourself. you gotta do what you gotta do to get fed. But there's people who are struggling with these issues, and then there's the people who enable them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a dick. I freely admit that I'm a dick. I look at these 600-700 pound people who have trouble getting out of bed, and I'm just thinking, I would just not bring them food. It's like, well, when you're ready, you can get up and you can go get something out of the fridge.
Yeah.
At a certain point, that's what tough love is. It's like, because I care about you, I'm not going to bring you 2 buckets of chicken and 2 giant big gulps. Because to maintain that kind of lifestyle, it requires something. And similar to this, it's like if you say it's a trial to get out of bed and do all the things that everybody else does, it's like if you're legitimately ill, then obviously we're a rich society, we do everything we can for them. But we do not have enough money to just enable people who really probably need a different kind of help. And if people would stop enabling them, I think we'd be a lot better off.
And again, just enabling by giving them money or services. It's like people like her. People putting your eyeballs on this person is giving them engagement, and it's enabling their lifestyle, because the more they do it, the more they make, the more it continues to keep going.
So maybe we ought to be doing a little less enabling and a little more euthanizing.
Oh, well, would you like to see something way more fun? Sorry, Serenity.
The problem is, Skep, it should be a self-correcting problem now, shouldn't it?
Oh,
hold on, what was Serenity saying?
I just said it's all your fault, Harry, because you just keep letting the video play.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, I did mute it.
I can't even look at that anymore.
Okay.
It's
okay,
hard.
so this is good.
Thank you.
Have you guys ever heard about there was a plan to bring hippopotamus ranching to the United States?
Yes,
Did you ever hear about this?
Oh, yeah.
My history teacher went on a rant about this in high school. That's the only reason why I remember that.
Well, there were a bunch of invasive water plants around the Mississippi, and they wanted to get rid of them, and they thought, well, we could kill two birds. We could get two birds stoned. We could solve this meat shortage and get rid of these invasive water things by just bringing hippopotamuses to the Mississippi Delta. That sounds like a great plan.
They're friendly and gentle.
They're
like
vegans.
Cows.
They're vegans. They're just like cows.
Yeah, it's not that they kill more people than great sharks every year, and that's just like deaths we know about.
Yeah.
I think they are by strict numbers the most highest cause of death to humans.
No, absolutely not
for
even
animals.
close. Not even close. Not even close. I'm going to tell you the answer.
What are you
most
saying?
lethal animal is the mosquito. Thank you very much. It has killed probably 60%.
Wouldn't that just be the malaria?
Of the people who have died of malaria. Exactly.
Okay. Well, I know that they are really fucking dangerous to human beings.
We're not talking about insects or jellyfish or things. We're talking about animals in quotes. And so people think that sharks are these things that just decimate human populations.
Humans that go too far into
right,
the water.
so humans, it's like you go out and there's movies about Jaws, but there really should be like a movie, instead of rhinoceros, there should be hippo, where people turn into hippos and then just murder everybody. That would be awesome.
Pretty much same family.
The Abramopotamus, of course. How could I possibly have forgotten that? But this little bit
hippopotamuses.
But this little bit from this Wired article is great. Hippos imported from Africa and raised in the bayous of Louisiana, proponents argued would provide a delicious new source of protein for a meat-hungry nation. In the process, the animals would gobble up the invasive water hyacinth that was killing fish and choking off waterways. It would be an epic win-win. A bill was introduced in Congress, and newspaper editorials extolled the culinary virtues of lake cow bacon.
Lake cow bacon. I fucking love it.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's just perfection.
How many ranchers died?
Bacon.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my.
Yeah. What a time to be alive.
Wow. How would you like to be a cowboy rounding up a herd of hippopotami?
You die.
Yeah.
You're dead.
What would you do when they ate your horse?
Yeah, like they're just teeth crushed. You're done. But it's
horse
like,
and you in one bite.
Well,
yeah, you annoy a couple of them with your 6-shooter, and they get pissed off and eat you.
Well, it's like you can also tell that like these people have never been to the bayou. All a hippopotamus has to do is get into the water, and it's gone.
Yeah.
You're never finding that bitch again until you're like there's alligator carcasses just lying in the river. Because I've seen one of these things, like a video of one of these things. I think everybody probably has if you've been on the internet.
Oh yeah.
Of it chasing down a boat, a speed like a boat that has a motor to it, and it's trying to get away, and it just goes like a shark jump, and it's like, holy crap!
Yeah.
Dead, just dead. They kill 500 people a year.
So I have 2 tech stories for you.
Oh Jesus!
But how many ranchers did it kill?
So Tesla faces new probes into motorbike deaths and false advertising. Essentially, on 2 separate occasions, not separated by that much time, Tesla's on autopilot decided to essentially run over people in the HOV lane at night riding motorcycles. It's like the Tesla just sort of said, nothing to see here, and just plowed into and killed a couple people. And I've seen unconfirmed reports of a third similar accident. Now,
were the motorbikes illegally in the HOV lane?
No, motorbikes are legal in the HOV lane.
So they're illegal. So this was unjustified homicide by Tesla?
Yeah.
But how?
Well,
okay, I have
not
a semantic
technically.
question. I have a semantic question.
Go ahead.
HOV stands for high occupancy, right?
Yep.
Why is a motorcycle in a high occupancy lane?
Because it's 100% filled.
And because the operators are usually high.
To me, that doesn't make sense. But okay, they're law. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, at HOV lanes, in almost every place I've ever seen, motorcycles are allowed. The long answer is, back in the day, the reason that motorcycles are allowed to lane split in a lot of places, back in the day, motorcycles were air-cooled, not water-cooled. And a lot of the vehicular codes surrounding motorcycles sort of grew up around that thought. Meaning that if you had a motorcycle and you didn't allow it to keep moving to keep cooled off, that would be a problem. Go forward to modern day, you have water-cooled motorcycles that can just sit there and idle, at 110 degrees on the freeway just as easily as a car can in most cases. However, a lot of vehicular law surrounding motorcycles still stems from a time when they were air-cooled and they needed to keep moving to keep from overheating. The HOV thing is simply that in order to minimize the HOV lane exists to minimize traffic on the roads. That's its purpose, right? To have fewer cars on the roads. And motorcycles, because they take up less room for parking and all this other sort of stuff, are allowed to use those lanes too. It's 100% used. You can't have anybody else, so they just let them use the HOV lanes.
It's just, when I hear high occupancy, I think like buses. So that's the reason
it's 100% occupied.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, I get that. It's just my brain's logic doesn't compute it. But I understand why it makes sense. But my brain's just like, but they're not high occupancy. They're fully occupied.
Yeah.
But they're not high occupancy.
Think about it a little bit in an idle moment, and then you'll do that thing you do where you go, and I can't make that noise that you make. Just kind of think about it sideways for a bit. It'll start to make sense. But the point is that the autopilot on the Tesla, the drivers don't seem to understand it's just an assist. They are responsible for what the car does.
Yep.
And in these two cases, these riders just got plowed. Mm-hmm. And it seems to be a problem with the computer vision that they have, that you have two lights on these bikes down low, these two tail lights down low. It didn't think that it was a car. You train the AI with all this stuff, and at night, it's like, I don't think it's a car. Elon decided in his infinite wisdom that they would take the radars, out of the cars. They previously, and a lot of other self-driving cars, have radar built in, so it can detect if there's an object in front of it. Now, Elon is famous for saying, well, what do you do when the radar sees something and the computer vision doesn't, or vice versa? Which thing do you decide on? So he like an engineer, just decided, I'll just simplify it and we'll just only use the vision data.
Ooh.
Yeah. And now 2 to 3 people are dead because of that engineering decision. Well, ultimately they're dead because the people driving the cars, rightly or wrongly, believed that they didn't need to pay attention. And they just said, we'll just get in the HOV lane and do 80 miles an hour. And they just killed
There are going to be some say, Harry, that this happened because motorcycles are legal. When we make motorcycles illegal, this stuff will stop.
Yeah, you're right.
Ban assault motorcycles down.
Too.
I'm sorry, what?
If we got rid of cars, it would stop too.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of people.
That's a really great point.
Go to the root of the problem.
Well, we should Terry stop all of these people and ask them if they really need to be on the road. I think that's the right thing to do, right?
I'm waiting for California to do that. I know you're joking, but I'm waiting for California to do that. I really am.
Terry is such bad law.
But the point is with the AI stuff is it is still kind of half baked. And honestly, if you have two sensors and one of them doesn't agree with the other one and the computer can't reconcile it on itself, the car should make a noise and it should drop out of self-driving mode.
Yes.
That's what it should do. It should just make a damn noise and say, human, take over. I don't know what to do. Is it really that difficult? I mean, look, Elon, I just told you how to solve the problem. and I won't even charge you for it because it'd be nice if you'd stop killing motorcyclists.
It just starts, and the beep gets louder and louder until the driver acknowledges it. It's like, put your hands on the
it should be a
steering
klaxon like on the bridge of the fucking Enterprise. It should be like, breep, breep, breep. And like, you should be back on the fucking wheel immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to say, like, when did we get to this stage where we can just, test like lethal products in open society? But it's always been like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I generally like most of the stuff Elon Musk does, but honestly, taking the radars out of these cars for the reason that he gave is fucking stupid.
Insane.
Yeah, it's just stupid. Dude, it's like, they're not that expensive. This isn't a problem. You've made it into a problem it doesn't need to be. It's a good fail-safe. It's like when the optical stuff stops working, there's a little kid in the road, dog, whatever it is that the AI doesn't recognize, just turn the control back over to the person.
This feels like a bright young MBA got a hold of this radar and said, this is a cost package per unit that we don't need. It's basically redundancy, mostly redundant, and it looked, getting rid of it seemed like a good idea on paper. I can see how that got pitched.
It's like, I like the design, but we need to make it $12,000 cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, I was expecting this to happen because I remember years ago when people would drive through graveyards with Teslas and go, we're going to look for ghosts with the Tesla because it says people are there.
Just real quick, if I could say something about the car business. This is the way cost works in the car business. They don't look at things that cost $100 or $200 in a car. They know they need those things. Those things have already been looked at. The people who optimize cars and basically make them cheaper are the ones who go around and say, that's a $5 cost in this car, that we're paying $5 per unit, and we can take that down to $4.50. We sell 1 million of these cars every year. I just made us $500,000. That's the way. That's the economics of the car business, and that's what I think motivated them to control unit pricing in this obviously very poorly thought out way. I almost guarantee you that was a cost move, Harry.
Oh yeah, I think they're just trying to justify it after the fact.
Yep, agreed.
Yep. Oh, I was going to make a joke about something, but we're running out of time. It is actually pretty impressive what you can do in terms of the hardware for this sort of stuff. So there's NVIDIA makes a number of hardware products that you can buy for embedded systems that will handle a whole bunch of sensors, because the Tesla actually has an impressive set of optical sensors, and also has a pretty good amount of regular computer power and AI power. The Navier NX line is like that. It's relatively low power too, and pretty durable so you can stick it under the hood of a car with the right packaging. The stuff that you can do, everybody talks about AI in terms of the big Google AI and is it really sentient already and that kind of conversation. But to my mind, it's all the stuff out on the edge, the little bits of AI that are embedded in everything that kind of terrify me slightly more.
Yeah, you know what, Lava Junkie? No flag on the play, because even in the world of Star Trek, when you're on autopilot and the autopilot goes, hey, wait, there's something in the way, it yells at you and goes, hey, we need your attention up front and center, Lieutenant LaForge. You're about to hit something. Like, it's not that hard of a concept.
So there was a video that was made on this by one of my favorite smaller YouTube channels. It's called Fort 9. It's a Canadian motorcycling channel, but I really, really like a lot of the stuff that they do. Let me see if I can get that into the chat for people to take a look at later. I really like this channel.
I rode my first motorcycle when I was 4 years old.
Yep, I rode on the back of my dad's Bull Taco at the beach with big old tires. But anyway, this Fort 9 video is actually really good if people want to check it out. I really like that channel.
Fortnite video? Oh, Fortnite.
Fortnite. Fortnine is
like Fortnite. What are you talking about?
It's a Canadian motorcycle channel, eh?
A.
A. All right. Space, the final frontier. NASA's
Woo!
unprecedented asteroid deflection mission is more than billiards in space, scientists say. So they're going to experiment with actually modifying the course of an asteroid. So there's a small asteroid which is in orbit around a larger asteroid. I'm just giving you the cliff notes of this. And what they want to do is basically change the orbit of this thing just a little bit by giving it a bit of a nudge. Now, as they take this small satellite and crash it into this this asteroid, they're not really sure what's going to happen because they honestly do not know whether these asteroids are sort of a loose collection of rocks and that essentially there will be a lot of ejecta from when it crashes into this that will change the kinetic energy, right? If it's an inelastic collision and the thing is solid, you hit it, and then all of your momentum, all of your kinetic energy basically hits that thing and changes the direction. But if it's soft and squishy, what you're going to see is this big plume of crap come out of the back of it from where it hits. And that could be a difference of like 50% in terms of how much energy is there. So it's not just a question of can we get something to a asteroid, but the question is what force do we need to put into it to do what we need to do to the asteroid, because we don't know what the damn asteroid's made out of.
Right.
So this whole like doomsday, how do we stop this asteroid from crashing into the Earth thing is a lot more complicated because we just don't know how much energy we can transfer.
And it looks like a lot more of the interstellar objects that enter our, or things in the Oort cloud tend to be more of those loosely packed, bunch of loosely held together rocks, basically, instead of one giant rock, which is the way things are.
It's depicted in you
almost need to do something more like have one probe go down there and put a net down of some sort, or use a net to grab this thing, or have a soft landing. And then use something like an ion drive thruster to essentially change the orbit slowly over time. Yeah, just give it a little nudge over the course of years. So if you knew that something was in a potentially dangerous orbit with the Earth and you wanted to move it, instead of applying a bunch of energy all at once, you could do something a lot more subtle. And that's part of what this probe is designed to figure out, is to figure out, well, what are these things actually made of? And by crashing something into it and seeing what happens, we're going to learn a hell of a lot about it. And it could ultimately end up being really important information. But this kind of small space stuff that we do occasionally can have some really big benefits.
That really should be all over the place, because I don't know. For me, this is interesting as hell. And generally don't get to see this stuff unless you're looking for it.
Yeah. So the hope is that the collision will nudge Dimorphos into a closer orbit around its 780-meter partner Didymos, shortening its nearly 12-hour orbital period by just a few minutes. They're just trying to nudge this thing. So we're going to see what ends up happening by observing this. And it's going to take months to get all the data, of course.
Yeah.
But I think this is a really good small space mission. I'm glad that we're actually doing something cool like this. So every time we land something on a comet or grab a piece of an asteroid or whatever, we learn really important stuff about the inner solar system.
I love Geode's comment. Third option, it considers it an attack and heads straight for Earth. Thus, the Cthulhu tech begins.
Nice.
And I responded, no, Haster considers it an attack.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
It's like, I will go down Cthulhu mythos path real fucking quick.
Yeah.
Oh, so I have
It'd be nice if we didn't awaken any ancient evil
around here.
I think we're due for a change-up regardless.
Do it.
I wanted to look at some dating tips for women from the 1930s, if you have.
Oh, okay. I can handle that a little bit better. It's like, please not modern dating tips.
I'm listening.
Back in my youth.
Okay. So, for instance, dating tip number 1, do your dressing in your boudoir to keep your allure. Be ready to go when date arrives. Don't keep him waiting. Greet him with a smile. That seems like pretty good advice, right?
Hey, Elwin, can we get a boudoir? What's a boudoir?
That's a bedroom. Well, not technically, but it's basically what it is now.
Tip number 2. Men don't like girls who borrow their handkerchief and smudge them with lipstick. Make up in privacy, not where he sees you.
Yeah, you dumb skank.
God, well, unless you do the one move that women do to make it so lipstick doesn't get on their teeth, because then it's insinuating, but we're not going to go that route.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Okay, don't sit in awkward positions and never look bored, even if you are. Be alert, and if you must chew gum, not advised, do it silently with your mouth closed.
Yes, please.
Wait till you're married to do this. Yes, exactly.
Yes, give a nice fake image of yourself. Okay.
Fake it till you make it.
Careless women never appeal to gentlemen. Don't talk while dancing, for when a man dances, he wants to dance.
I just want to dance.
I just want to dance, baby.
When Reginald dances, all he wants to do is dance.
And if that's the case, you're not marrying a straight man.
Oh, my.
I like to twerk in peace, okay? I don't need some chatty Cathy.
Okay. Functional, if you're twerking, you're throwing your back out.
So this is from the 30s, Harry?
This is from the 1930s.
Oh,
okay,
God.
if you need a brassiere, wear one. Don't tug at your girdle, and be careful your stockings are not wrinkled. Yeah, you want to look well put together. I have no issue with this.
The thing about that is that's advice for men here.
Okay, Skep, read this one for me.
Current year. Don't use the car mirror to fix your makeup. Man needs it in driving, and it annoys him very much to have to turn around to see what's behind him.
They're worse than self-driving cars.
When a guy's hoping to hook up with a woman, this is really not all that much annoyance.
No, it's not. It's what? Don't be familiar with your escort by caressing him in public. Any open show of affection is in bad taste. They actually used to be true. Usually embarrasses or humiliates him. People really did think that way. And, even when I was in the Navy, it was against Navy regs to show a public display of affection, even to the point where, as an officer, if I was greeted by my wife on the pier, you would not see her hug me or kiss me in public.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called a PDA, and it was literally against Navy regs.
Yeah. Keep
that's all by the boards. That's all by the boards now. They just embarrass themselves terribly.
Okay.
But anyway,
Serenity, read this one, please.
What now?
Yeah.
Want me to read?
Yes, please.
Sorry, my mic went for a second. Don't be sentimental or try to get him to say something he doesn't want to by working on his emotions. Men don't like tears, especially in public places.
Okay, that's actually true.
Once again, wait till you're married to do this stuff.
Look, I don't even want to see your tears in public. I don't want to cry in public.
Don't be familiar with the head waiter talking about the fun you had with somebody else another time. Men desire your entire attention.
Men deserve and desire your entire attention. Boy, that was a different time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. How dare
really?
you?
I mean, instead they're just on.
Look at those
Functional.
wooden
This one's you.
Those wooden Venetian blinds too.
Don't talk about clothes or try to describe your new gown to a man. Please, and flatter your date by talking about the things he wants to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she wants to tug and talk about her brassiere. Like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. We have a few
Just
more.
means I know I have my budget for them.
Do this one, Functional.
Don't drink too much, as a man expects you to keep your dignity all evening. Drinking may make some girls seem clever, but most get silly.
Yeah. Yeah, girls, don't drink too much. We hate when you do that.
Well, depending on the
Save
kind
it
of
for,
guy you
like
are,
Skep
yes.
said, save it for when you're married. Go for that 2-for-1 discount at AA. Let's see.
Because you're already married, he can drag you home by your ankles.
Can you come pick me up, honey?
Don't be conspicuous talking to other men. The last straw is to pass out from too much liquor. Chances are your date will never call you again. Yeah, I think that's actually fairly accurate. If she's gonna muss some other dude's hair at the adjacent booth, yeah,
because she's
I
all
think that's
plastered.
I think that's a deal breaker, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Mussing.
I mean, his face says it all.
Because ultimately, it just ends like this.
The head waiter's like, score!
All right.
Loot the body. Loot the corpse.
Anyway, this has been the Minions of the Zoo for Saturday night.
Hope it's been uplifting.
Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. Any final thoughts, Functional?
No, sir. I don't like it.
I want everybody to note my dandy Halloween avatar that I've
very
posted.
nice. Johnny Hellcat will have to make a new fake avatar for when he's hanging out with you now.
I don't have any Halloween going. Well, actually,
that was it. The avatar. You have
That's
anything
it.
else? Okay, Serenity.
Don't forget to love each other.
But not in public.
Yes,
Good night,
please.
everybody. Zoo's
Don't
closed.
See that.
Don't be
Don't
drunk
see
when
that.
you do it.
Bye.
Bye.